come every year, and we would observe that. And so we walked that down with the blessings of the Most High. We walked that down all the way from 2012 up until 2019, which was last summer. We went back to the Jamestown, to the banks of the James River, and we concluded the 400 years there on the banks of the James River. That was prophetic, based on Genesis 15 and 13, where the Most High said your people will be in this land for 400 years. So during this 7-year countdown, we knew that the next phase would be for us is our freedom coming out of here. So as we counted down toward the year 2019, my brother, in 2017, we met a brother from Cincinnati named Elder Michael Ben Yehuda, who had been to Israel and had been a part of the earlier movement when the brothers and sisters had left the United States from Chicago and went to Liberia and went to Israel. So he had come back, and so he had come to one of our Holocaust observances. And when he came to the Holocaust observances, he invited us to Ghana because he was going back and forth to Ghana at the time. And so we accepted. And so in 2017, that was our first year that our organization, the Israelite Spiritual Action Committee, YITSAC, that was the first year that we went to Ghana in 2017 at his invitation. We hosted the first Pan-Israelite Freedom Conference outside the United States of America. The Israelite Conference, not in America, but a conference outside America. And so we hosted our first conference outside America in 2017. We went back again in 2018. And in September of 2018, the president of Ghana, President Adu, came to the United States of America and went to the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., and he announced the year of return. He announced the year of return leading up to the year 2019. That was very prophetic. When we went and started on the banks of James River in 2012, it was on 8 families. In 2019, after the president of Ghana announced the year of return, over 1 million black people visited Ghana during the year of return, adding $3 billion to their economy, giving them the initiative to want to ask black America to no longer stay in America under the persecution, the oppression, the affliction that we've been dealing with, and that they would begin to open the door and make a way for those who would want to leave the confines of this land for 400 years, and they would be able to transition up out of here. That was very prophetic. Ever since then, each year we've been going back. We're about to go back in February, coming up, in February the 23rd through March the 9th. This would be our 5th Pan-Israelite Freedom Conference. We go and we visit. We go to the slave dungeons. We go to the place where our ancestors took their last bath before they brought them down to the slave dungeons. We go back over that whole historical trail. And as we go back over that, it opens us up, and we begin to see the conditions that our people under from a whole different perspective, especially when you go. I wish every brother and sister in America, I wish every brother and sister in America who call themselves a Christian, I wish they could go to the United States. I wish they could go to Cape Coast and they can go to the dungeon. And when they go to the dungeon in Elmina and Cape Coast, what they're going to discover is this, that while our ancestors was downstairs in the dungeon, where they was fighting for food, feces on the floor, urine on the floor, naked, heat, no windows, only the strong survive. On top of that, there was a church. And the slave traders, the captain and his crew and all the bandits, they would be upstairs at church service. And they would be upstairs in church service praising the good Lord Jesus Christ. And our ancestors was downstairs in hell. That was the greatest example of heaven and hell on earth. They were upstairs in heaven, praising the Most High, eating, they Lord Jesus Christ. They was up there eating good, drinking wine. If they saw a black woman they liked, they'd bring her upstairs, give her a bath, do what they want to do to her, and send her back down. The men, they treated them like dogs, and they just basically, it was a survival of the fittest. They would throw food down from upstairs off the balcony from the church upstairs, and the men would fight like pigeons. And again, only the survival of the fittest and the strongest were the ones who survived. And so if you're living today in the United States of America, that's because your ancestor was a survivor, and he was strong. And therefore he was able to begat and begat and begat. And therefore you are here today. So We are the descendants of those who were the strongest to survive. But what they will learn is that there's no way that you can call yourself a born-again Christian when you see the way that our people were introduced to the religion that they so faithfully embrace here every Sunday in the United States of America. If they understood the truth behind that, I think that would open up their consciousness to another dimension, to realize the folly behind what they're doing here. And so this is the initiative that we've been dealing with since 2017 up until now, and that's to build what we call the overground railroad, because it's not underground. We're going over the water. So it's the overground. This is the overground railroad. That's basically a continuation of what Harriet Tubman did and a continuation of the end of the Civil War. Because at the end of the Civil War, what happened is that chattel slavery ended in the United States of America for our people, so we went to a different form of slavery. And from that new form of slavery that we went into after the end of the Civil War, we've been in that state up until now. And what will happen next after the fulfillment of the 400 years is coming up, it's going to be another war in this country. We can see that happening right now with the situation with the presidency and one side against another side, and it's only going to get worse. So this second Civil War that's going to happen in the United States of America, what it's going to do is our people got to get ready. It's going to free them, just like the first Civil War got them out of chattel slavery. This second Civil War is actually going to free our people from the 400 years of the transatlantic slave trade that's been holding us down since we've been up under this administration since 1619. That's what's really going on, and that's what's really happening on a divine spiritual level. And so our people got to begin to realize this and realize that America is not the only place, and that we need to take the blinders off and become international in our thinking and our struggle and our approach to freedom for our people. And so that's what we've been a part of that since the prayers and the beginning on the banks of James River in 2012 up until where we are now with the Pan-Israelite Freedom Conference that are actually hosted outside of this country over in Ghana. And we've met a lot of brothers and sisters over there. We've created a lot of human ties. And once a brother and sister go over there, they'll see that, it has its bad as well as its good. But you work through that just like anything else, and you line yourself up with the right people like you do anywhere else you go. Of course, and that's the approach you take, and everything will work out. But it's another place besides this place, and our people need to know that. And
it's a process. It's all about building those relationships. And you mentioned a few things. You mentioned the year of return in Ghana, and I want to say that I appreciate what the Ghanaians have done. With the year of return, and now
yes, sir.
Coming up in 2 days, it's beyond the return. What now?
That's right.
So hundreds of brothers and sisters have already began to receive their citizenship as a result of the year of return, and they are still working on, allowing others to also go through that same process of obtaining their citizenship. So some of the laws are changing, which are good in Ghana. They are welcoming Americans with open arms, blacks in the diaspora, or those who are of African descent. So I think that that things are definitely changing for the better good. And as you mentioned before, heaven and hell is a state of mind. It's a condition, right? So. And so, we have to also understand that. And in understanding that, we have a choice, right? We should have a choice whether we want to live here or live abroad or have dual citizenship. That is something that should be innately our right. We should not be prohibited from leaving the U.S. and going abroad if we so desire, because we are human beings and we should have, we are born with certain rights. And to detain someone and say that they cannot go here and because they need this passport, or they can't do this because they owe child support, or because they owe this or they owe that. It's ridiculous, the games that are being played. In
That's
addition
right.
to, the genocide, you talked about genocide, and genocide is the willful killing of a race, and that has gone on since the beginning of time. Prevent the rise of the Black Messiah. We're familiar with that,
Right.
with Malcolm X, when they
Right.
murdered Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr.,
Right.
Marcus Garvey, and some of the other greats. So
Right.
if you are not privy to understanding how the enemy moves and works against you, then you will succumb to the same type of foolish trickery over and over again. So, I really do want to say that it is definitely an honor having you on the show today, brother, to kind of speak truth to power and shine some light and shed some light, with our listeners as to your experiences of what you have encountered, not just with the Jerusalem Chronicle newspaper, but living in life. You have traveled back and forth from America to Africa. What was your first experience like going to Africa, and what countries have you visited?
Matter of fact, my first country in Africa that I actually visited was the land of Israel. That was my first country on the continent, because Israel is a part of the continent, although they geographically tried to separate it from the continent to make it a part of what they come up with, the Middle East. But that's a term that they've come up with. But in antiquity and history, our ancestors walked from Egypt up to Canaan, so it was just like walking from one place to another. So
it was like Northeast Africa. The only thing that separated Israel and Africa was the Suez Canal in 1859, when they dug that man-made ditch, the Suez Canal. So right. And then you're right, they started separating the two, but it was all one country, one continent.
That's right, and that was my first country that I visited, brother. And I was invited over as a guest from the KOY, the Kingdom of Yah, at the time. Rabbi Ben Amin Yisrael was living, and I was in the year 2000, and I was blessed to go to the land of our forefathers and just walk that land and to see the historic sites and to just revisit our heritage, and just to be a part of that, and to just enjoy the brothers and sisters that were living there, who had carved out a life for themselves on the continent, in the land, and it was just miraculous to see that. And so that was the first continent. That was the first country on the continent that I had gone to, and that was in 2000. In 2017, like I said earlier, then Ghana has been my second. But now, since I've gone, we set for a trip in November of 2021 coming up. We're going to be going to Nigeria. That's going to be our first chance to go to Nigeria. With the organization YITSAC, Israelite Spiritual Action Committee, we've actually set up different chapters in different countries on the continent. We have YITSAC Ghana, we have YITSAC Nigeria, we have YITSAC Uganda, and we expanded. We want to go with the blessings of the Most High. We plan to go to Rwanda, and also we plan to go to Tanzania, and that'll take us to the east side. And so we want to make our way all the way from the east side of the continent over to the west side of the continent, and then we'll go northward, and that'll take us back up to Northeast Africa into the land. So we're on a mission, brother, to actually extricate ourselves from this land and transition, because we know it can't happen overnight. We didn't come here in one ship. We came in a series of ships over a period of time. And so as we leave to go back, it's going to be like the waves that you see coming in off the water in the Gulf of Guinea. You sit there on the beach and you look at the wave, and what you see is wave after wave. And so one wave come in, you sit there, another wave come in, then another wave come in. And that's how it's going to be for our transition out of here. Because before we went in 2017, we had another brother named Amikai. He had already gone in 1999. Before he had gone, we had some other brothers out of New York named Kohen Netanya Halevi. He had already gone in 1995.